I'm Russ Christensen. I'm a co-op developer. We're going to talk about the financial forecasting for your worker cooperative enterprise. It's important to make sure that these forecasts are realistic and attainable. A common mistake that business startups make is they're too optimistic about their sales revenue, and therefore they set their expenses too high, and therefore they don't have enough cash flow generated from the business to cover their expenses. So it's important to be realistic in your financial forecasts, and I'm going to go over a spreadsheet with you. We'll walk through it together so that you can see the most important components of doing your financial forecasts. You can see at the bottom there's 5 tabs. There's instructions, there's a likely case for 5 years, likely by month, human resources or HR, and capital. Each of these worksheets has specific information that you're going to want to fill out in the yellow cells so that you can create your financial forecasts. So the first thing to do is just familiarize yourself with this spreadsheet. Just take some time moving around the spreadsheet, looking at the different worksheets, looking at some of the formulas and the yellow cells that you can fill in. Maybe you can start filling in some right away because you know what the costs are, you know what kind of revenue you can generate or the billing that you can charge your clients, what the minimum wage is that you want to get paid, hopefully a living wage in a worker cooperative. So just familiarize yourself with the spreadsheet and the different worksheets. So there's 5 steps. Step 1, we just talked about, and fill in those yellow cells. Step 2, look at the HR worksheet. Step 3, the likely case by month, and you're going to create your cash flow from the first year of operation and make sure that you're going to be okay with cash flow. Step 4 is the likely case for 5 years, and then step 5 is capital, determining the startup capital for your business. So let's look at the HR worksheet. As a worker co-op, this is probably the most important part because you want to look at how much you're getting paid per employee, what are you billing out per employee, and this is a service business, so it might be a little different if you're operating a farm operation or a retail store, something like that. So the place to start is on row 42, the forecasted co-op revenue, and start making these yellow cells make sense for your business. Whatever those assumptions are, and you can change some of these titles if you need to, but this is a service business that's dealing with clients. When you're finished looking at the forecasted revenue on row 42, you can move back up to the forecasted revenue on row 30 and just see if it makes sense overall. Does it make sense that this is the kind of revenue you can generate for your business? And here's some assumptions on different contributions that the business needs to make. And then you're looking at different positions and what the time is, different days of the week, and the hourly wage that you're paying and the number of people in those positions. And you might have a manager, full-time, part-time, a bookkeeper. You can contract that service out. You probably won't have someone in your co-op that's that interested in the bookkeeping part. So this sheet's really important to work out and figure out carefully. So the next step is to look at the likely case by month worksheet. So you can see that it's the number of weeks per year, so you can get those from a calendar. The actual startup is under column J. That's when they actually start creating revenue. That's when the business is launched. And there's a startup phase here where you're doing the research and the work like you're doing right now. And there's not that many costs involved, but there's no revenue generation. So in this monthly financial forecast, you really want to focus on the costs and what exactly those costs are going to look like. So you can do direct research, and that's something that you can control. The cost of your business are something you can control. The revenue is much harder to forecast, and of course, you can't really control how much sales you make. You can make your best effort and have a great marketing plan and strategy, but in the end, you're only going to generate the revenue that people are willing to, pay you. So at the end, You want to look at the surplus or loss. You can see that there's money being lost in the first 2 months, and then it's more or less a break-even position. And by the end of the year, it's just a small loss, which isn't serious. However, the cash flow is growing, and by the end of the year, it's positive. That's really important for your startup. You want to make sure that your business is creating a positive cash flow. Now, let's look at the capitalization worksheet. So this is the startup capital that you need for your worker co-op enterprise to launch. So we've got sources of capital and we've got uses of capital. Start with the uses. What are the different things that you need in terms of purchase of equipment or software or marketing materials or hiring a lawyer or doing an incorporation? What are the starting costs that you need to start your worker co-op? This is a service business worker co-op, so the startup costs are relatively low, only $16,000, and you can see how they've forecast their startup costs in terms of sources. So they've got member shares, they've sold preferred shares, Class B to members, they sold shares to outside people who are non-members of the co-op, so Class A shares, and then they've got a CWCF grant here of $3,500. And maybe there's other grants or other crowdsourcing that you can do to raise the capital. Finally, let's look at the likely case again. Once you've done all those different forecasts and looked at the startup capital, you need to come back to your 5-year forecast and you can see, does this make sense? Is it reasonable? Do we feel that we can grow our business by 3 times in revenue from year 1 of around $100,000 to year 3 of $300,000? Are our expenses increasing reasonably and realistically over time? There are increases in expenses. You can look at your these benchmarks, which are percentage of revenue, to make sure those benchmarks are similar to your industry benchmarks, which you can get from Industry Canada online for free. They're called business small enterprise benchmarks on Industry Canada's website. And then you want to look at your cash flow. So your closing cash balance is growing over time, so that's positive. That's a good thing. That means you're going to be able to pay out interest on your preferred shares and actually pay out principal on those as well. You see there's a graph here. You can just clip that graph out of here, copy it, and put it in, paste it into your business plan so that you've got some graphics, financial graphics in your business plan. So that's basically it. And you can see that the closing balance each year, this is a summary with the number of members. You could take this table from row 47 to 57 and just copy that and paste it into your business plan to give a nice summary of the results financially that you're forecasting. Once you and your group have spent some time with this financial forecasting spreadsheet, you can determine if it's a good fit with your business enterprise or not. If it isn't, talk to me and your coaches about getting a different template, because we'll look at different industry templates that might fit your cooperative enterprise better. The other thing to remember is make sure those financial forecasts are realistic and attainable. You have to understand them and feel comfortable about the assumptions and the amounts that you have, because you're going to have to explain them to other people. I hope you enjoy doing these financial forecasts. They really form the framework or the skeleton of your business plan. And our next video is going to be on the marketing plan.